Hello, everyone. I hope and pray that you are all safe, your families are safe, you are having good health, and um, enjoying your life, though it's not the time, um, not the normal time. It's an unusual situation. That's why we have adopted unusual lifestyle as well. Whatever the situation is, we need to be strong, especially in the hard moments. Okay, my today's lecture is about the Constitution of 1973, and this is the last lecture for this course. I will very briefly explain the background, the circumstances that led to the framing of the Constitution of 1973, and then uh, uh, what kind of governmental system was introduced under this Constitution. As you all know, Ayub Khan ruled the country for more than 10 years, 10 and a half years. He assumed power in 1958 and had to resign in 1969, precisely on 25th of March 1969, as a result of an anti-Ayub movement. The movement was launched by the students, later on joined by the political parties and the factory workers and intelligentsia as well. Some people they want to give credit to Ayub Khan that he did not use the full force of the state to quell that movement. Whatever the situation was, he resigned on 25th of March 1969 and asked the then commander in chief Yahya Khan to impose the martial law. So another martial law was imposed on the request of the outgoing president. By doing so, Ayub Khan had actually violated his own constitution. As per the Constitution of 1962, he was required to give his resignation to the Speaker of National Assembly, but instead he chose to give his resignation to the Commander in Chief. So Yahya Khan imposed the martial law. There are different stories about it. Some people say that he was not ready for that and he was holding his head in dismay. He did not know what to do after accepting the invitation from Ayub. And some other, like Lawrence Zering, they believe no, Yahya Khan was already ready. He had already made up his mind to assume the power, whatever the situation, whatever the story. Um, what actually happened was Yahya assumed the power by imposing martial law on 25th of March 1969, and he became the chief martial law administrator. And on 31st of March the same year, he also decided to become the president of Pakistan. In the month of April, while addressing the nation, Yahya made a promise that he was not there to stay for a long time. Rather, he would make sure that the transition from authoritarianism to democracy complete as early as possible, and then he would not stay in power any longer once the transition is completed. In order to appease the people who had initiated movement against Ayub Khan, Yahya Khan also promised, uh, and that promise was made in his speech in the month of November, that political activities would be restored from 1st of January 1970. New elections will be held in the month of October on the basis of one person, one vote. Parliamentary system would be restored and one unit would be dissolved. All these promises pleased those people who were in the forefront of anti-AU movement. So in order to uh, implement his plans, or in order to redeem his pledge, Yahya started taking some practical measures in 1970. More specifically, uh, legal framework order was promulgated on 31st of March 1970. This legal framework was to serve two objectives. One was to provide an infrastructure or framework for holding the elections, and second, it contained some basic guiding principles for making the constitution in Pakistan. This legal framework order had 27 total articles. About elections, uh, it was explained that the people of Pakistan will elect members of National Assembly, whose total strength would be 313, 300 general seats plus 13 seats reserved for the women. Out of those 300 general seats, 162 seats were there for the East Pakistan and 138 seats for West Pakistan. The seats were allocated on the basis of the population that each wing had at that time. Okay, and then it was also provided in LFO that this National Assembly would be responsible to frame the constitution for the country within 120 days of its first meeting, failing which it would automatically be dissolved. And then there were some guiding principles for making the constitution. For example, uh, Pakistan would be an Islamic republic, president and prime minister would be Muslim, the ideology of Pakistan would be respected, democratic principles would be implemented by periodic elections. Pakistan will be a federation where the provinces will have maximum provincial autonomy, and also the central government would have enough powers to 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 uh, uh, to govern the state effectively. There were some provisions about the independence of the judiciary also. Okay, so Yahya Khan planned to hold the election in the month of October, but what happened was there was a very severe monsoon, rains. Then there was cyclone in East Pakistan. The situation was very bad. That's why the elections were postponed. And finally, the elections for National Assembly were held on 7th of December, and for the provincial assemblies on 17th of December 1970. Uh, these There were many political parties participating in those elections, so we could easily divide those political parties into four groups. The first category of the parties were those which could be considered traditional, conventional political parties, uh, specifically different factions of Muslim League, like Convention Muslim League, Council Muslim League, Muslim League Qum group, and they were relying on their contribution in the past to attract the votes. And their popular or major slogan was, "We had founded the Pakistan and we would save it. Pakistan banaya tha, Pakistan bachayenge." And then there were some religious parties as well, so religio-political parties. Uh, and most of these parties represented a particular sect, with the exception of Jamaat Islami, which was a kind of catch-all party. Uh, and its support ran across all the sects. In addition to Jamaat Islami, there was Jamiatul Ulama Pakistan, headed by Maulana Shah Mandurani, which was popular in the urban areas of Sindh, more specifically in Karachi and Hyderabad. There was Jamiatul Ulama Islam, which was popular in NWFP and Balochistan, and uh, it had its support in the Deobandi sect of Sunnis. And then there were some regional political parties like NAP and AP, NAP, National Awami Party, uh, which focused on provincial autonomy for, especially for the smaller provinces, and it was headed by Wali Khan. But there were two more important political parties, which were somewhat different from the parties that I already mentioned. And credit goes to these two political parties for taking the politics out of the drawing rooms of the big business tycoons and feudal lords. These two political parties were Pakistan People's Party in the west and Awami League in the east Pakistan. So Pakistan's People's Party election manifesto was based on four basic points. Islam is our religion, democracy is our system of government, and the source of power are people, uh, and the socialism is our economy. And the popular slogan that People's Party introduced was Roti, Kapda, and Makan. Okay, and People's Party was specifically very popular in Sindh, especially in the rural areas, and also in Punjab. On the other hand, Awami League was the most popular party in East Pakistan, and its manifesto was based on 6 points, uh, which included a true federalism based on Lahore Resolution, parliamentary democracy based on universal adult franchise. Second, the federal government will have only two subjects: defense and foreign affairs. All other subjects were to be given to the provinces. Two separate but freely convertible currencies for both the wings, and one currency for the whole of Pakistan. A ban on the flow of capital from one part to the other, and the second separate banking system for both the wings. Number four, taxation power in the hands of the provinces. The federal government could take some share from the provinces to meet its expenditures. Number five, two separate accounts for foreign exchange reserves, and there must be a permission for the provinces to establish direct trade link with the foreign countries. And finally, East Pakistan should have a separate militia or a paramilitary force. So, when the election campaign was going on, Yahya, on the basis of the reports that he received from intelligence agencies, believed that there would be a hung parliament. Hung parliament means no party would be in a position to form a government on its own. So he could play the role of a kingmaker. But what happened is election results were completely different from his expectations. Awami League had swept the polls in East Pakistan, winning 160 general seats out of 162 and total 167 including the 7 women seats. Whereas Pakistan People's Party was the majority party in Sindh and Punjab, winning more than 80 seats. JUI and NAP were able to win in Balochistan and NWFP, whereas different factions of Muslim League were also able to win some seats, but their seats were in single digit. JUP, Jamaat Ulama Pakistan, was also able to win some seats from Karachi and Hyderabad. So, as a result of these elections, one thing had become very clear, that even the most popular political parties, People's Party and Awami League, were not the federal parties. Awami League could not win even a single seat from West Pakistan, though it filed 7 candidates. On the other hand, People's Party did not file any candidate in the East Pakistan. It did not contest elections in the East Pakistan. It had all its seats from West Pakistan and specifically from Punjab and Sindh. So there was no federal party. As per parliamentary traditions, power should have been transferred to Mujibur Rahman, but our administration establishment did not like him because of his close relationship and ties with India. On the other hand, Bhutto was not ready to accept any deal unless power was shared with him. Bhutto wanted to finalize the constitutional principles before going to the session of the parliament. On the other hand, Mujibur Rahman wanted first the transfer of power and then he could talk about the constitutional issues. And the deadlock continued. And because of that deadlock between these two popular leaders, the National Assembly could not be convened. And finally, when Yahya Khan decided to convene it in the month of March in Dhaka, he could not redeem his pledge and the session of National Assembly was postponed. That triggered a violent movement there in East Pakistan, and then Yahya made a fateful decision to launch a military action. The rest is history. You all know what happened. Because of that military action, many of the refugees from East Pakistan, they crossed borders and went to India, gave India a pretext to enter that war, and then finally Pakistan army was surrounded there in East Pakistan. It could not receive supplies from West Pakistan. It had already lost the support of the people there. Its back was not safe, so it was basically sandwiched between the Indian forces and the fighters of Mukti Bani. And finally, Pakistan army surrendered on the 17th of December 1971, and that was the day when Pakistan got disintegrated.